Chapter 51. Suspicion. Tom steered the trolley along the corridor. At the end of it was a hatch in the wall where the pharmacist handed out medicines. An elderly man was sitting on the other side of the sliding glass window. Mr. Codd wore a hearing aid and thick, round glasses. He was busy sipping noisily from an impossibly large mug of tea. Tom took a deep breath and addressed him. "Good evening." "Deeper," came another whisper from under the sheet. The boy tried again, deeper this time. "Good evening." Mr. Codd didn't look up. "He's not responding," whispered the boy. "Codd must have forgotten to turn his hearing aid on again," said the porter. "You're going to have to shout." "Good evening," shouted the boy. "There's no need to shout, Doctor. I'm not deaf," shouted Mr. Codd. "Sorry," said the boy. "What did you say?" asked the old man, holding a cupped hand to his ear. "Maybe you need to turn your hearing aid on, Mr. Codd." "I can't hear a word you're saying. Let me turn my hearing aid up." Mr. Codd put his mug of tea down and fiddled with the dial on his hearing aid. When nothing appeared to happen, he banged the box with his knuckles and the gadget whistled into life. "Right, what can I do for you, Doctor?" Mr. Codd asked. Tom smiled. The plan was working. "I need a syringe and 50 litres of sleep serum, please." A look of shock crossed Mr. Codd's face. "What do you need all that for? Are you going to put a hippopotamus to sleep?" "Millilitres," came a whisper from under the sheet. "Who said that?" demanded Codd. "It was my patient," replied the boy. "How come your patient knows more about what he needs than you? You are supposed to be the doctor." The boy thought for a moment. "Well, my patient is a bit, to use the correct medical term, bonkers. The poor man thinks he's a doctor. He's delusional." "That still doesn't explain why he knew the correct dose," replied the old man. Codd had a point. "Well," began Tom with trepidation, "he is so delusional. He is actually a brilliant doctor. In fact, I'm taking him down to the operating theatre right now." "Why?" "To perform an operation. That's why we need all that sleep serum." Mr. Codd shook his head wearily. "I thought I'd seen it all. 50 millilitres of sleep serum coming right up." The chemist hopped off his stool and scuttled off to the back of the pharmacy. "Well done," said the porter. "Shouldn't that be well done, Doctor?" chuckled the boy. "Don't get cocky, young sir." When Mr. Codd returned with the serum, he stumbled slightly and dropped the medication on the counter. As he bent to pick it up, he peered down at Tom's feet. "You have 2 left feet," observed Mr. Codd. "Yes," replied the boy. "Most people only have the 1 left foot, but I am lucky enough to have 2. "I've never heard of such a thing," explained the chemist. "Well, apart from not being the best at ballroom dancing, it's never held me back. Thank you so much." Mr. Codd peered through his thick glass, looking at this doctor with deep suspicion. "You just need to sign for it here," muttered Codd. He pushed a medical form across the counter. "Thank you," replied the boy. "Have you got a pen?" The chemist shook his head. "Another doctor who doesn't have a pen." Codd produced a biro from the top pocket of his lab coat. "Now don't think you can make off with it." The chemist rolled the pen across the counter and it fell to the floor. The boy leaned down to pick it up and lost his balance. "Ah!" thud. Tom was sprawled out on the floor. His prosthetic leg had become detached. Codd peered down. "Your legs have fallen off," he said. "Yes, I won't need them any more," replied the boy. "Do feel free to give them to anyone who might want them." "You aren't a doctor," explained Codd. "You're a child. You must be the boy that everyone in hospital is looking for." "He is a doctor," said the porter from under the sheet. "Just like me." "You are both up to no good," shouted Codd. "I'm calling the hospital security." The boy grabbed hold of the trolley and sped off down the corridor, crashing through the swing doors with a terrific bang. "We'd better get a move on," said the porter. "Have you got the syringe?" "Yes," replied Tom. "What are we going to do with it?" "Simple. Stick it in the matron's bum."